Okay, so this video we're going to talk about GeoGebra, and I am at geogebra.org on the home screen, and I'm going to look at in this video in particular is just the GeoGebra Classic. So that's the part we're going to look at. There's going to be another video that will talk about some of the programs and the apps that they have. So we're going to do the GeoGebra Classic. And so when you open up that, okay, you are going to get a blank screen. Be sure, mine when it first came up to graphing, but you just hit the geometry part of it. And of course they do have tons of different things, but we're going to look at just the geometry. Okay, and so again, we're going to look at some of the things that we have here. So you have point on an object, attach or detach, intersect, midpoint or center. Again, if you want to get more into the trig, your complex numbers, and your z, your extremes, and your roots. So, that would be, maybe we could pull those in Algebra 2. So here is your key for your line segments, segment with a given length, array, polyline, vector, and vector from a point. This one, perpendicular line, perpendicular bisector, angle bisector, tangents, polar, best of line fit, and locus. Your polygons, again, your circles, your ellipse, hyperbolas, parabolas, your angles, and your distance and area. This is your reflection. This is your sliders, and your zoom in and zoom out. So let's just start with some basic geometry as we did in the other one. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at, and I'm not going to go through all of these, but the first thing that I want to show you, similar to the Desmos activity. So if we're looking at a ray, and I'm going to get me two rays here. Okay, once you have your ray drawn, then we can click on our angle tool just like what we did in Desmos, and the angle. And then we're going to click the 3 points. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, and there it gives me my degrees. So just like what we did in Desmos, we can find our angle measure. Now another tool that GeoGebra has that we did not see in the Desmos is this angle with a given size. So let's just look at it. So and if you'll look down here, it kind of tells you what to do on each one of those. So it says, select a leg point, a vertex point, and then it asks you to tell you what size it is. So maybe, I'll go ahead with that one. And you can do counterclockwise or clockwise. So I'm going to do a 45-degree clockwise. So now here's my angle. Then if you wanted to, you could come back in with your ray. Let's get our ray, and we could come here and draw that. I put an extra point there. I could have put it just on the A. There we go. And then you've got your angle drawn that way. Okay? And again, you could make that any way you want it. You could make it counterclockwise or clockwise, either one. So that's kind of looking at your angles. Okay, let's look at making polygons, because we talked about those earlier. And again, I'm assuming we've got the same type of situation. You need to close up the polygon. Now, whoops. One thing, I'm not getting it to stop. There we go. So one thing about it is that what this did that GeoGebra did not, or sorry, Desmos did not do, is it has them labeled ABC. And I like that. It also has them labeled ABC here. And so again, if I come to my angle tool, let's just see if I can. There we go. Now, the other thing I didn't say, but you can do, especially once it's a polygon, you can click on just the two sides. So if I want angle B, I can click here, and there it is. And angle C. So that piece might be a little bit faster than in the GeoGebra. Okay. So you could do that for any of them. Now, just like what we did before, we could come in with our rays if we wanted to extend those on out, and then again come in and use that angle measure to find that angle. So let's see if we can do that. There it is. Okay. Oops, it didn't give me the measure though. There it is. I had to click on that point there. So now there is my, so again, you can kind of still do that same thing with the exterior angles and the remote interior angles if you want to talk about those. So that's kind of some of the same things that we did with the Desmos. So I'm not going to go through a lot of those different activities just because it's pretty much the same. I would say as I was playing with both the Desmos and the Geogebra, I in some ways like the ease of Desmos, but I think the Geogebra has a little bit more in terms of the geometry, in terms of the labeling and things like that, that I like. So there's pros and cons to everything. It's kind of whatever you like. So okay, so the next thing that we're going to look at is the perpendicular line. We're going to look at using some of these here. So one thing, when you click on that to do perpendicular lines, it says, let me go back here, it says select a point and a perpendicular line. And I had to play with this one a little bit to actually get it to do what I wanted to do. So actually what I needed to do, I went to the line and I first drew me a line. I'm make it look like this. And then I came to the perpendicular line and, whoops, I clicked on my point and clicked on perpendicular line and then clicked on it. And then that made me a line perpendicular too. So I did the line, clicked on the point, and then clicked on the perpendicular. So let's try that again. So here's the B. I'm going to do perpendicular again. And I had to double click, okay, not just single click. And so we made perpendicular lines. So if you're wanting perpendicular lines, and talking about slope, have the kids make that, and talk about is the reflection piece. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and get me a polygon as what we did before. And I think I'm going to make, okay, and one of the things that I didn't mention earlier, but whoops, I keep doing that. Click on the arrow key. I don't know why I kept it in. You can do just like what you did on the Desmos. You can actually move this around and look at your shapes different and so forth. But we'll just do a shape here. Okay, so we're going to do the reflection. And so when I hit the reflection key, it says to, whoops, it says to select an object to reflect, then the line of reflection. So I need a line to reflect it on. And so we're just going to give me a line, and let me just do this one here. And so I'm going to pick my, oops, sorry. I don't know why. I have a hard time clicking extra things. So here we go. So I am going to click on my object and then click my line of reflection, and I need to tell it reflected about the line, sorry, first, and then click it, and there it is. So again, object, my line, and then I click on the object, come up to here and click what I want it to reflect about or rotate about. So let's see if we want to reflect it or rotate it about a point. So we're going to click on the image, and then to rotate about a point, so we're going to, let's rotate it about D, see if we can do that. And so we're going to do a 45-degree, let's go clockwise on this one. And there it is. Went off my screen a little bit. And there's your rotation. Okay. Again, one of the things that I would really suggest as you're doing these activities is to be sure that your picture is not symmetric. I use something that's kind of odd shaped, so it's definitely you can see. Okay, so there's some reflections and some rotations on there. Again, I will be the first to admit I find, again, the GeoGebra to be just a little bit more difficult to maneuver around, not as user-friendly on this part of it. Okay, on this part of it. Okay, so I'm going to go on and talk about some of the activities, because I think that to me is a little bit better way to do the GeoGebra. But let me know what you think, if maybe this is, maybe you've used GeoGebra a lot and you really like it and are comfortable with it. If so, let me know on that.